What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. I know it's been out for a while, but I finally got to see it, and of course I'm going to give you my thoughts. This movie stars Chase Wonders, Madeline Klein, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr. Much like the previous movies, we have a group of kids that we're introduced to. I say kids, but they are adults in this movie. Chase Wonders is obviously our main character who plays Ava. Madeline Klein is kind of the leading support in this movie. She plays Danica. She kind of fills that Helen Shivers role, right? And of course, in order to get to the point of this movie, something bad has to happen to them over the summer. And it does. Danica and Teddy are engaged to be married, and they're having an engagement party. Of course, night falls, they are leaving the party, and right before they leave, they see their old friend Stevie, played by Sarah Pigeon. She's kind of been outcast from them. She hasn't had anything to do with them. Obviously, she feels some kind of way about this. But they do get her to come around, and they're like, come on, let's go watch the fireworks, because they're going up on top of the hill to watch the fireworks, I guess. And of course, while they're going up the road, Teddy wants to play some games. He yells and acts like, oh my God, stop, like they're going to hit something. They stop in the middle of the road, or she freaks out and they stop. And of course, he was just messing around. Then he gets out of the car, like an idiot, and goes and dances in the road, and trying to get traffic to dodge him. Oh, don't worry, they're going to dodge me. And of course, you know what this leads to. Well, it leads to one of the vehicles veering off the road and almost going over the cliff. While it's stuck on the side of the cliff, they go running over, trying to pull the truck up off the cliff, which obviously is not going to work, and the truck eventually falls. The person inside is obviously killed at this point. They're there wondering, oh my God, what's going to happen? Well, I think we all know what's going to happen. Flash forward to the next summer, and Danica now is getting married to someone completely different, and his name is Wyatt, played by Joshua Orpin. And while she's opening her gifts at her bridal shower, well, she gets a little letter. I know what you did last summer. That's right. Of course she does. And I'm going to kind of stop laying it out like that right here. I just wanted to give you the beginning and the feel of where we're going with this. Obviously, classic I Know What You Did Last Summer plot. Something happens, and then the next summer, they're tormented by someone who obviously seen what they did or maybe was involved in some way. And I will say this. Now, this movie obviously has not gotten that best of reviews. And quite honestly, most horror movies don't, unless they're like a really big franchise like Halloween. And even then, we saw what happened there. Well, I want to just tell you right now, this movie is classic horror, right? It's a classic horror movie. It's really got that 90s horror feel, just in a 2025 world, okay? So I do like that aesthetic of it, that it really is trying to grab that 90s horror feel. I do like that. And there is some definite campiness going on. Some of the acting it can be campy at times, which just adds to the charm of it all. And I think and I really tried to avoid anything about this movie, even though I didn't get to see it right away. I tried to avoid anything about it. I only saw the one trailer way back when that first trailer dropped, and that was it. I didn't look up anything. I didn't even watch any other reviews of it. I tried to stay away from it as best as I could, because I wanted to go in it completely blind, completely fresh, not have any kind of preconceived notion of what it was going to be or anything like that. I am a huge fan of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And however, that one did also have a sequel, I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which, well, that's terrible. If you want to talk about terrible, that's terrible. This is literally an award-winning movie compared to that. As this movie is going on, it has some bits and pieces that it hits that harkens back to the original. You don't really know if they're retconning I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the second movie. You don't really know if they're retconning that. It almost seems like it, because they always reference 1997, the year of the events of the original film. So you're not sure if they're pushing the second movie to the side and kind of forgetting it or not, but we will find out later on what the case is there. Now, of course, as the movie goes on, Danica and her soon-to-be husband are in their house, and, well, the fisherman shows up, harpoon and all, killing Wyatt with the harpoon. Well, does more than just the harpoon. He puts him through some torture before actually finishing the job. into which eventually Danica comes downstairs and finds the body screaming bloody murder. She finds out that Ava had met this girl that was really into horror movies and stuff and has like a horror podcast. So they go get in touch with her to try and figure stuff out. And that's where they learn of Julie James and, of course, Ray. Ava goes and seeks out Julie James and, of course, brings her back into this whole thing. And you can see that Julie is still having trouble getting over what happened all those years ago. They do go find Teddy, and Teddy obviously is removed himself from everything. He's out on his boat, and he's all disheveled, and he's a hermit now, it would seem like. His dad, Grant, is a very wealthy man, played by Billy Campbell. And when I seen it was Billy Campbell, I had no idea Billy Campbell was in this. And when I seen him come on screen, I'm like, oh shit, all right. I like him. Like, I'm a big fan of Billy Campbell. I love The Rocketeer. And I really liked that movie with Jennifer Lopez called Enough, where he was an absolute asshole of a man and beat her and everything else like that. It's just crazy how good he is at going from a very heartwarming, lovable guy and then just flipping the switch and becoming an absolute monster. He is excellent at that, and I love his acting. I've always loved Billy Campbell. Of course, I love Bruce Campbell, his brother, too, naturally. But Billy Campbell, yeah, I was very happy to see him in this. And what's funny is his character in this is almost a mix of that very, humble, wholesome guy, yet has this dark side about him. So it's a very interesting mix, and if anybody's going to pull it off, it's definitely going to be him. And I do like some of the gore in this. It's not overly crazy, though, so don't expect some kind of crazy carnage going on in this. But there is some scenes that are pretty decent as far as gore goes. But it is tame by today's standards, It's very, like I said, it's got that 90s feel. It's dialed back a little bit. It's a little campy. But honestly, I think that's why I enjoyed this. And there is a twist at the end. Once we get to that point, there's a couple of them. There's one that you're not expecting whatsoever because it's so out of nowhere. And the other one, once you get towards the end of the movie, you start thinking in terms of, could it be going that way? And then you're like, oh, wait, no. But then you're like, oh, it is. And then there is a pretty decent twist at the end that you're not expecting, but you saw it coming near the end. You kind of was like, well, wait a minute. There were some things said there that make you think, oh, okay, I see where this is going. But there is one twist. Well, I wouldn't call it a twist. There is one moment in the movie you definitely aren't expecting. Now, listen, I am going to give a spoiler countdown because beyond this point, I'm going to talk spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, click off, or oh well. One of the interesting things that happens is Danica, she's all distraught. We're near the end of the movie now, and Keller has chased her and tried to get her and everything else and all the stuff that's happened up to this point. And she's in this room, and she gets up because she thought she heard something. Now, when she gets up and starts walking, it does seem a little odd with the way the lighting is and the way the lighting goes. It does seem a little odd with what happens there. But you don't really think nothing of it. It's just very quick. But when she walks into the room, it's that old stage where Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, Helen, was back in the day in 97 when her prom queen or whatever that was back then, right? It's that same stage, and she's standing on the stage, and Wyatt, the boyfriend, the future husband, I'll say, was laying there dead in front of her while she had the bloody hook in her hand, and you're like, hold up, wait a minute, wait. Because they even go visit the grave of Helen Shivers, like earlier in this movie, and you're just like, wait a minute, hold up. She's alive and she's the killer all of a sudden? No, that would have been crazy. That would have been absolutely crazy, and I would have loved how they explained how she was alive and nobody knew. But that was not the case. It was just a dream that Danica was having. But it was really cool to see Sarah Michelle Gellar kind of come back and reprise that role. And you knew they didn't ever say nothing about her being in this movie. Nobody said that she was cast in this movie. Obviously, why would they? Because she's supposed to be dead. And it's just fun to see how they managed to work her in. So I really appreciated that. And I thought that was a fun little scene. Of course, there's some weird stuff going on with CGI because it is a dream at the end of the day. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was fine. But as we get to the end, we realize that this person that went over the cliff, they thought it was the pastor or a relation to the pastor because the car was linked to him. Well, kinda. sorta, not really. They thought, and they kind of geared you to think maybe it was, but then, oh no, it wasn't. Here, Stevie's boyfriend, that's right, Stevie, who we haven't talked about in a minute, who actually works for Ray at Ray's bar, because Ray has a bar in this movie, and Stevie has worked for him, and Ray is like her protector. Something happened where he's going to protect her. He promised he'd protect her to her dad or something like that, and there's nobody around. I guess her dad's gone. I don't remember exactly the details there, but Ray vowed to protect her at all costs, okay? Well, and Ray is he's a very disheartened character, right? Like everything that's happened throughout the years, he's very disenfranchised. That's the word I'm looking for. And he does not get along with Julie James anymore, even though they were married at one point. Oh, they've divorced and they do not get along whatsoever. And we learn this as the time goes on and they have an interaction and we find out, yeah, they don't get along whatsoever. Well, he's a very disgruntled, we'll say disgruntled and discouraged man over anything that's happened throughout the years. Grant, played by Billy Campbell, his wealth and power, he tries to manipulate things in the town so that he suppresses anything bad that's going on to make the town look good from the outside looking in, right? And this is a problem. We're suppressing crimes and he's suppressing this and that. And you start to think, well, okay, obviously he's doing all this. Maybe he's actually the killer, because why else would he want to suppress everything? But oh no, because the killer shows up and kills Teddy and kills Daddy too. So nope, that wasn't the case. However, we learn later on that Stevie had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend, that's right, was the man in the truck that went over the cliff. Then you're like, okay. But then you're like, wait a minute. And it is revealed that it is Stevie at first. Like, she comes out, and she's even got the slicker on, and the girls are like, oh my God, what are you doing? And she lays out why she's doing what she's doing, because it's their fault that she went to hell and back and everything else, whatever. And you're like, okay, interesting. However, you notice earlier in the movie, the fisherman is actually slashed on the arm by Ava. So you're like, wait a minute. She doesn't have any cuts on her. And there are some times where she's manhandling some pretty big men, and you're wondering, how is that possible? But, we're going to find out. Because, that's right, here comes Ray to the rescue. They're out. Stevie takes them out on her boat. She has Danica and Ava on the boat. And her plan was to kill them out there, of course, and that's where they learn that it's her. But here comes Ray in his boat to rescue them, and he grabs his gun out of his waist, and he's pointing it at Stevie. Stevie now has Danica as a hostage with the hook. She doesn't care. She kills her anyway. You're like, wow, he didn't do anything and he just let her kill her? Then he seemingly shoots Stevie, and she falls off the boat. Ava's glad to be safe and back. She's at Ray's bar. She calls Julie James and says, oh, I'm happy because I'm safe now. Ray saved me, but it was Stevie, and I don't know how Stevie did all this on her own. And Ray had disappeared. And when Ray walked away, he took his jacket off, and you saw a bandaged arm. That's right. Ray is the killer, and Stevie was another killer, basically. We've got a little Scream action going on here with two killers. I think, personally, Ray did most of the killing for Stevie. That's just my opinion. There's probably some kills that Stevie did do, but based on what we've seen in the movie, pretty sure Ray was the killer most of the time. And so it's quite jarring. It's like, oh my God, wait a minute. It's funny, actually, that Ray ends up being the killer, because in the original movie, he was like the prime suspect for a lot of the movie with his Billy Blue boat and all that stuff. And so it's just kind of ironic that now he really is the killer. And he gives out his... And Julie James shows up because Ava called her, and she gets there, and he comes out. He actually stabs Ava, and so she's down for the count. And Julie James is there. She's wondering how this is possible. Why? And he gives out his reasons, and his reasons is that everybody's trying to erase what happened from the past. They're trying to erase us from the past. And Grant and all his schemes of erasing the past of the town and Southport. And he's not happy about this. He's not happy about the change. He's not happy about the past being erased and being suppressed. And he's just grown more and more and more frustrated and furious over this until finally, accident happens. Stevie's boyfriend is killed, and he sees what happened, and he will not take it anymore. And he's going to remind the town of what went down. Quite frankly, I thought it was great, because you definitely aren't thinking that. You just aren't thinking he's going to end up being the killer. I mean, hey, it's a returning character from the previous movies, and there's just no way he's going to be the killer, right? Well, he is, and quite frankly, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great twist. And naturally, he gets killed by Harpoon via Ava, and Julie James is standing like, oh. And they both say, fuck 4th of July, and all that good stuff. The movie comes to a close. Danica and Ava are in the hospital. They come out of the hospital. They go get something to eat because they're hungry. And they mention in passing that I guess Stevie's still alive, which means she's apparently still alive. And nobody's the wiser of where her location is or what she's doing, obviously. But it's known that she is still alive in some capacity, which obviously leaves things open. And then the credits roll. But then they don't, because we get the post-credit scene, which leads us to the house of Brandy. That's right, Brandy from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which lets us know once and for all that no, they did not retcon I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. That is absolutely still canon in this timeline, because Brandy is back. She's there with her husband, and then the husband decides he's going to bed. Brandy's watching this news unfold on the TV. But then Julie James shows up at her door, and she's like, what the hell? And she comes in, and she's like, listen, I tried to not get you involved in this, but now I have to. And she gives her a thing, she opens it up, sees a picture of both of them with her face crossed out and a little note and all that stuff. And she's like, well, whose ass are we going to fuck up now? Something like that. And they're like, I was hoping you would say that. Julie James is like, I was hoping you would say that. Obviously setting up another movie, which I really hope they make. I do. I really do. I hope they don't just say, oh, well, you know, it faltered in the theaters, so let's not do it. No, I hope they make it. I really do, because I'm interested in that. And it's a low-budget horror movie. It's not some crazy... It's not going to be some Oscar-worthy film. It just isn't. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be a fun, summertime popcorn horror movie, and it definitely accomplished that, okay? So I enjoyed this movie. There was moments that were kind of weird. They're going to have that, especially in horror movies. It's just the way it is. But I like that they tried to bring back that 90s horror feel. And I do feel like they successfully did that and mixed it with today's 2025 atmosphere. You know, the world of 2025. I feel like they did that. And I like the twists and turns it took, because they were unexpected. Certainly wasn't expecting to see Sarah Michelle Gellar in this whatsoever. I mean, yeah, maybe as a flashback or maybe something, or like a thought in somebody's head, which technically was what it was, because she was a dream in Danica's head, but that was cool to see that. And it almost makes you think, wait a minute, she's back as the killer. So I like that. And you definitely aren't seeing Freddie Prinze Jr. being the killer at the end. So that was fun. I did like that. And I know, I just feel like he saw that and he's like, oh, hell yeah, I'm doing that. He loves horror movies and everything else. He's a big horror nerd, Freddie Prinze is, and I just have a feeling he was all about that. He just couldn't, the fact that he was, and I even think there was an interview way back in the day where he's like, I kind of wish I was the killer, even though, you know, back in the original movie, I feel like he said that at some point, and because in the original movie, he was the suspect for a lot of the movie. And now here, he actually is, which is kind of ironic and fun. And I just thought that was cool. So I personally really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, it's not the most perfect thing in the world by any stretch of the imagination. It really isn't. It's a fun, just horror movie to, you know, just forget about stuff for the day, have some fun, eat some popcorn, and it gets the job done. It really does. And I love the fisherman as a killer, too. I just love the fisherman. So, with that being said, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 knives. That's what I'm going to give it. 3 out of 5 knives is what we do here, the 5-knife rating around here. So I'm giving it 3 out of 5 knives, folks. Again, obviously not a great movie by any means, but a fun movie and one that I definitely will watch again. There's things now where you want to go back and see little bits and pieces and see, oh, yeah, like, it's fun to do that with these kind of movies, and I will definitely be doing that. And it was not, it didn't slow down in any real way or anything like that. It kept the pace, it kept things going and moving, and before you know it, the movie's over. And yeah, so I had a good time with it. 3 out of 5 knives. That's what we're going on this one. So don't worry, in case you were wondering, no, I have not reviewed I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original, or I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, or the god-awful, absolutely atrocious I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. And if that was any indication how I said that, what my feelings on that one are, well, spoiler alert, I fucking hate that movie. So, don't worry though, I'm going to do reviews on those too, more like thoughts and opinions. I think the way we're doing this now, this talking points, thoughts and opinions, things like that, is the way to go. I'm trying to tighten things up so that we're not overshooting here, because in my past reviews, I've tended to overshoot and just go crazy and try to do all this stuff, which just isn't necessary. I just want to get my thoughts and opinions out there on it. And so if you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified when I upload more videos. And with that said, I will catch you all down the road.